Smurfs, The Lost Village is the reboot of the Smurfs series because Sony needed to cash in on the Smurfs yet again because they realized, oh crap, Ghostbusters didn't do well, let's put out another Smurfs movie and hope it does well. But this movie isn't another live-action movie with Neil Patrick Harris. Instead, this movie takes place entirely in the Smurf Village, fully CGI animated, and it focuses on the character of Smurfette, voiced by Demi Lovato instead of Katy Perry, and she's having a hard time fitting in with the Smurf Village because everyone else has a name to represent what they do in this village, but she doesn't really have that. She doesn't really fit in well with everyone. But soon she discovers that there's a village off somewhere that's been hidden for a long time, and because she's curious, she wants to go find it, so she enlists Clumsy, Hefty, and Brainy's help to help her go find it, and also while this is happening, the evil wizard Gargamel and his pet cat and bird are also trying to find this village because he needs the essence of the Smurfs to become all-powerful. I didn't have a childhood involved with the Smurfs entirely. I remember seeing like 1 or 2 episodes back in the day on Boomerang, but I didn't really grow up with the Smurfs, but I do think that the Smurfs could make a good movie. It's just that those live-action movies they put out sucked so hard, but when they announced that they were going to reboot it and it was going to take place entirely in Smurf Village, no live action, no humans, I was somewhat looking forward to it, but at the same time, it's Sony, and you can't trust Sony these days, apparently. Even now, apparently, you can't trust them. And when the trailers came out, I thought, this looks really dumb. It became one of my least anticipated films of 2017. And walking out of this movie, it surprised me in a couple different ways. Is this movie as bad as those first 2 Smurf movies? No way. This movie actually has a lot going for it that I'm about to discuss with you. For one, the animation in this movie is honestly really incredible. The Smurf Village, the lands that they live in, all look very good. It's vibrant and it's bright. It looks very gorgeous, and the designs for the Smurfs and also other creatures that show up also looked very good in this film. And this is why a lot of people wanted a movie to take place entirely in the Smurf Village, because you would be able to explore this landscape that they live in, and I'm so glad that they actually did do that because I appreciated seeing what they were putting in this film. I also really liked how they were trying to develop the Smurf character, because in the live-action movies, they didn't really do a good job of developing them at all, and that's really saying something since Smurfs 2 was like entirely about Smurfette. And this movie is also mainly about Smurfette, but I think they did it much better in this film, especially seeing how it progressed later on. And surprisingly, Gargamel actually entertained me in this movie. Maybe it's because it's Rainn Wilson and I have a personal soft spot for the guy, and he also voiced a really funny villain in Monsters vs. Aliens, Galaxar, but I really enjoyed his performance as Gargamel, and I also enjoyed seeing him interact with this pet bird that I forget the name of at the moment, and also his pet cat, Azrael. Like, Gargamel, for once, was actually entertaining to me. Hank Azaria, I didn't really find that funny in those movies. He was just really cringy to me, but in this movie, I think Rainn Wilson's voice perfectly matches with what the character is. So I couldn't help but be entertained by him, but other than Smurfette and Gargamel, there's really no other character that I could say I was fully latched onto or that I was really entertained by. Disclaimer though, I'm not saying that these characters are awful in any way. It's just that these characters really don't change throughout the course of the movie, and they don't really try to give them some development. They pretty much just stick to what their names are. For example, Hefty Smurf. What is he like? He's the big tough guy, so he hits on Smurfette, and he also punches things a lot. And does he change throughout the course of the movie? Not really. Brainy Smurf. He's the nerd. He wears the glasses. He's the smart one. Does he really change throughout the film? Not really. Then you have Clumsy Smurf, who's clumsy from beginning to the end, and he doesn't really change much either. And I'm not saying that these characters needed to be fully developed or anything like that, but when these characters are really just sticking to what their personality traits are, it does make it a little difficult for you to latch onto them. Especially since when they try to connect to the audience member with their humor, I wasn't really laughing at them too much. A man like Joe Manganiello, I hope I pronounced that right, playing a Smurf should be hilarious in and of itself, but Hefty really didn't make me laugh that much in this movie. There's only really one Smurf that made me laugh, and he's not even a main character, unfortunately, and that's Nosy. Just the way he says his lines honestly made me laugh. Oh, what's going on in here? Oh, well, alright. Like, when he said that, like, he says it a few times, I was honestly cracking up. And then you have jokes from Brainy that are more centered around how smart he is, and I didn't really laugh at that. And then Clumsy, it's just he's just clumsy. He falls down a lot, he hits things, and he's voiced by Jack McBrayer, so you have him yelling a lot. And for me, I just couldn't really connect with these Smurfs because they were just so set in stone with these personality traits. I think maybe if they gave him more to do than just tell a joke about your muscles, or make a nerd joke, or fall down clumsy, then maybe I could have connected with them more and enjoyed the movie more. And since I did bring up the humor of this movie, this kind of segues into my main fault with this film, and that is that it is way too kid-centric, and there's nothing wrong with a kids movie trying to aim towards the child demographic. That is fine, and for kids, they will love this movie. I think they're going to enjoy it a lot more than the first two Smurfs movies, and I think adults will also enjoy this movie more than the first two Smurfs movie. It's just that for adults, I'm gonna make a comparison real quick. If you like animated movies like Inside Out, or Moana, or Kubo, or Zootopia, this movie is nothing like that. But if you're worried that this movie's gonna end up like an Ice Age Collision Course or a Norm of the North, it's also not like those. This movie is more along the lines of Minions, or The Secret Life of Pets, or Sing, conveniently all made by Illumination Entertainment. Smurfs: The Lost Village fits in very well with that, because the message is nice for a kid, and adults can look at it and go, okay, that's a sweet message, but it's not really something that a lot of people will connect to. It's not something that they'll be weeping in the theaters over, or actually going, wow, that actually really surprised me. It's kind of expected from the very beginning of the movie. And then you have the jokes that are basically more aimed to the kids. The kids will die laughing, but the adults might just chuckle throughout. And even some of the action scenes that take place a couple times throughout this movie, they're fine, and kids will be excited by it, and adults will be dazzled by the colors and the animation and all that. It's just that after they watch those kinds of sequences, they will go, yeah, that was fine, but I've seen much better, like in Moana, Zootopia, and Kubo and the Two Strings. So even though there's plenty of things to like about this movie, and it's definitely way better than the first two Smurfs movies, it is definitely aimed more towards kids, and it will shut out people like me or other adults. And a lot of the movie is also trying to pander to kids as well. They have some celebrity voices, and you also have some pop songs shoehorned in there. I mean, there's a Smurf named Smurf Melody, voiced by who? Meghan Trainor. That's what Sony does! And of course, near the end of the movie, this isn't really a big spoiler, but of course all the Smurfs get together and they start dancing to a pop song. So the movie is more kid-centric, and adults won't hate it probably, but it's not going to be a movie that they will want to show their kids. There are definitely other animated films that you should show your kids because it's much better for them. Having said that, I'm going to give Smurfs: The Lost Village a C. I actually did get some good animation out of it. I appreciated what they tried to do with Smurfette and her message for the kids. It was a decent message, and Gargamel, I was surprised to be entertained by him, but overall this movie is just for kids. I wouldn't really say I'd recommend it to people who just love movies. If you love movies and you want a good animated film, go see Moana or Kubo or Zootopia and Inside Out and all those great movies that are animated. But if you do go see Smurfs: The Lost Village, you won't end up hating yourself or wanting to hang yourself in the theater aisles. It is just okay at best. But if you've seen Smurfs: The Lost Village, leave in the comments below of what you thought of it, and as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.